Welcome back to the Strange Art series, and this time we are flipping the script. Usually I cover non-Japanese posters for Godzilla and other classic kaiju films, where the art ranges from really good to something that doesn't represent the movie all that great. But today, Japan gets the spotlight as we take a look at how Japan tackled the posters for American and other foreign monster movies. With all that being said, let's dive in. Let's start with the 1954 giant ant movie, Them. It's a classic giant monster movie poster with massive ants tearing through a city and some poor woman about to be ant food. Now of course the ants on the poster look nothing like they do in the movie. They've got these lizard-like eyes and huge mandibles sticking right out of their mouths. And yeah, real ants do have mouth parts like that, but here they're drawn in a way that looks really painful. The movie ants were nothing more than big clunky animatronics. They were still cool though, don't get me wrong, but they just weren't as terrifying as the poster makes them look. Now you'd think the Japanese release might have done something different with their poster, but no, it's basically the same. The giant ants, the screaming woman, everything is still there, except the title. Instead of Them, Japan got a movie called Radioactive X. Another classic giant creepy crawler movie is Tarantula from 1955. Just like Them, it features a lady in peril looking like she's about to become Tarantula Chow, with the giant arachnid looming over a terrified town. Now in the Japanese version, retitled Monster of the Century Attack of the Tarantula, things get dialed up a notch. Instead of a small desert town, the spider is now hovering over a full-on apocalyptic city, and instead of people running away in fear, there's a guy now standing his ground ready to fight back, alongside a woman in a red dress who does not even appear in the movie. I don't know, I kinda like this one. Now as a little bonus, here's the Japanese DVD cover, which actually brings back the running people from the American poster in a very big close-up shot of the tarantula. Now I have arachnophobia, and this is not doing anything to cure that. The original Blob from 1958 has one of the creepiest giant monster movie posters of its era, with the titular blood-red creature devouring everything in sight. Japan did get this movie eventually, but it was marketed in a very unusual way. For starters, the Blob itself isn't even on the Japanese poster. Instead, actor Steve McQueen takes up nearly half the space, and it was retitled McQueen's Absolute Peril. Supposedly this change was due to Steve McQueen's rising popularity in Japan at the time, which explains the strange advertising choices made here. It's time for the British Godzilla film, Gorgo. In Japan, it was known as Monster Gorgo. It's a super clear image that tells you everything you need to know. Giant monster, full-scale city panic, iconic British landmark, you're in for a wild ride. I'm not sure if I like it better than the American poster though. This one has an incredible illustration that is super dynamic, with the Japanese one looking like a Toho monster film from its era. I like both of them for separate reasons. The poster for the Beast of Hollow Mountain isn't one I particularly care for. The dinosaur is crammed into a small frame in the corner here, surrounded by a lot of other elements that look like they belong to an entirely different story. Now in contrast to the Japanese poster, retitled Primitive Monster Dragodon, does a much better job. It highlights the dinosaur with a striking, imposing image of it, and even features the infamous cow puppet front and center on the poster. Between these two, I gotta go with the Japanese one. Alright, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms from 1953. I've always loved that poster with the Rhedosaurus terrorizing the city and the dramatic tagline, Cast of Thousands. You know, because it's counting the extras as being part of the cast. It's pretty funny, even if unintentionally so. The Japanese poster is mostly the same, with a few small differences, like the monster's tail being more obscured. But the biggest change is the addition of the mushroom cloud in the background, symbolizing a nuclear bomb going off. In Japan, this movie was retitled The Atomic Monster Appears, clearly tailored to Japan's growing anti-nuclear sentiment at the time. However, the nuclear bomb in the film itself is little more than a narrative trigger, being little more than something that just gets the movie started. Here's another Harryhausen classic, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. I'm not a huge fan of the original poster. It feels a bit too busy to really focus on or really appreciate anything going on here. The Japanese poster, on the other hand, is a big improvement. It focuses more on the creatures, with the iconic Cyclops front and center. I'm not sure why it's green though, but it still looks amazing. Definitely the kind of poster I'd want hanging on my wall. Jason and the Argonauts has a fairly simple poster. It's not bad, I just don't have much to say about it. So let's segue to the Japanese poster, now titled The Great Adventure of the Argo Expedition. It features a nice shot of Triton saving the ship, which is a memorable moment from the film. But then you look at the bottom and there's just so much going on here. It gets a bit distracting and overly busy. I am not a fan of that. Overall, I'd say both posters are just okay. The 1 million years BC poster has Raquel Welch on the front, with the dinosaurs and the prehistoric setting behind her. It's kinda humorous because it's like, ooh, a dinosaur movie? Who cares? But who's the babe? In Japan, this movie was called 1 Million Years of Dinosaurs, and it does shift things around a bit, putting the dinosaurs front and center. Welch is still there, but now she only takes up about a quarter of the poster. There's also 2 other Japanese posters where the dinos get more of the spotlight. I am a simple man who loves dinosaurs, so all these work for me. The Golden Voyage of Sinbad poster kinda has the same problem as the other one. There's just a little too much going on, and that bright yellow banner in the center of the title kinda hurts my eyes because it's just so condensed here. The Japanese poster, on the other hand, is a bit better. It almost looks like the 7th Voyage of Sinbad poster, though it doesn't showcase the creatures as well as that one does. Of the 2, I definitely prefer the Japanese poster. Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger crams a lot onto its poster as well. However, I think this one does it right, by putting all the unique characters and creatures off to the sides, and the central artwork has enough space to breathe so you can really appreciate everything around it. The Japanese distributors probably thought the same thing, because they basically kept the poster's original illustration for theirs, just changing the title to Sinbad, The Great Adventure of the Tiger's Eye. Clash of the Titans was the final Harryhausen creature feature. The poster definitely has a very fantasy-style look to it, with Medusa looking over Perseus, Andromeda, and Pegasus. Honestly, it's not a super exciting poster that really captures the film well. Most people probably associate this movie with the more dynamic poster where Perseus is battling the Kraken, and I totally agree, that one is way more eye-catching. The Japanese Clash of the Titans poster is super blue, and jam-packed with different elements from various sources. It feels kinda messy to me, but it still has that fantasy adventure vibe to it. It's okay, but I don't really like it as much as the Kraken poster. Now, King Kong may have starred in some Japanese films of his own, but the American ones definitely made their way to Japan. Starting with the original 1933 classic. The first poster you're looking at here gives you everything you'd want in a giant monster movie one-sheet. You've got the title monster grabbing your attention right away on the top here, looming large and looking fantastic. And down at the bottom you've got Kong battling the meat eater, in one of the film's most iconic scenes. Definitely a top tier poster. Japan got another poster that kinda sticks with the same basic design, with Kong looking epic on the top, and duking it out with a prehistoric menace on the bottom here. Only this time Anne and Jack are sharing the spotlight. It's a solid poster, but I still like the first one better. There's also this one, a nice illustration of the film's iconic climax on the Empire State Building, with Kong looking like he forgot to brush his hair here. It's another solid poster, and I believe this is an original illustration, compared to the other ones that just used pre-existing material for references. The 1976 remake of King Kong also made its way to Japan. The original US poster featured a menacing-looking Kong standing on top of the World Trade Center. The Japanese poster, however, took a different approach, using the film's only monster v monster moment. This scene was beautifully illustrated by artist John Berkey. Another one of Berkey's illustrations was used for a different Japanese poster as well. King Kong Lives, the sequel to the 1976 remake, had 2 Japanese posters made for it. The first of the 2 I absolutely love. It feels super kaiju inspired. And yes, the poster doesn't really represent Kong perfectly like he looks in the movie, but I still think this looks amazing. The second poster I'm a little iffy on. Kong just looks kind of weird in it, and I don't really get the random shot of New York City in the background, especially since he never actually goes there in this movie, aside from the intro sequence which was just reused footage from the first movie. In fact, New York City has no real role in this movie, it's just randomly here because that's what you associate with King Kong, I guess. The Japanese poster for the 2005 King Kong uses that iconic shot of Kong you see on a lot of home media covers. It's a great image of Kong, and definitely a more dynamic and striking shot compared to what the US poster went with. Let's end this video with Kong Skull Island. The Japanese posters simply used the American one, except they just translated the text to their language. However, they did get a second poster with all original artwork, and it is absolutely wild in the best way possible. It crams pretty much every monster from the movie, all packed in one insanely detailed image, and it was illustrated by renowned kaiju artist Yuji Kaida. I do appreciate the simplicity of the US version, but there's something about Kaida's artwork that just looks visually amazing. It's great artwork and it's really well done. And that's gonna do it for this one. Did I miss any posters that you think deserve a shout out? Let me know in the comments, as I'd love to put together another poster video if there's more cool stuff out there. Until then, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.